If you're approved for Social Security disability benefits, from time to time Social Security will review your case to see whether they should continue those benefits or terminate them. Last week, I saw two people who'd been receiving disability benefits for years and were terminated, and I think Social Security made a mistake in their case. But that prompted me to make a video on what Social Security calls continuing disability review. Hello, I'm John Foster. I'm a medical doctor who does Social Security disability videos. I've done quite a few, and as usual, everything I say reflects my own opinions based on my own experience and study, and not the opinions of Social Security or any other medical body. Now, there are certain conditions and situations where Social Security is required to review your disability case. First of all, for most people, they're required by law to review your case every 3 to 7 years. However, it can be earlier or it can be later, depending on the nature of your disability. For example, someone who's had a leg amputated isn't going to get their leg back. I see quite a few people who are having disability reviews, and the most common thing I see is when a person reaches adulthood. If a person is determined to be disabled as an infant or child, the parents get the payment until the person reaches age 18 and are considered an adult. And if the disability benefits are to continue, the person's case needs to be reviewed when they reach 18. This is because Social Security has different criteria for disability for adults compared to children. If you look on Social Security's website, there's a listing of impairments for children and a listing of impairments for adults. When it comes to adults, there are multiple things that can trigger a continuing disability review. And often these people are very anxious about losing their disability benefits. However, having done disability exams since 2017, I have yet to see a person who was disabled and then became abled. And that's for the simple fact that to get Social Security disability benefits, you have to have had a disabling condition for at least 12 months. And there are very few medical conditions that will improve significantly if they've been present for at least 12 months. For example, the most common causes for a disability claim, arthritis in the spine and other joints, tends to get worse with time rather than better. There are only 2 conditions which may get significantly better, resulting in termination of benefits. The first is low birth weight infants. Children who are born very small almost always were sick in the womb, and when they're born, they're usually quite sick and have to be in the intensive care unit. Social Security has different criteria for when the child is born, but if a child is born at term at 37 to 40 weeks and they weigh 4 pounds 4 ounces or less, they automatically qualify for 1 year of disability. Like adults who have to be in the intensive care unit, some of these children will recover completely and be well. Some of these children will die, and a lot will survive, but with major problems. They have to be reviewed at age 12 months. The other situation where a person can become much better is organ transplant. Social Security approves disability benefits for the time right after almost every organ transplant, and then they have to be reviewed. I had a friend who had kidney failure and despite being quite sick, continued to work. Every morning when they'd arrive at work, the first thing they'd do is go to the restroom and throw up because the kidney failure caused them to vomit. Luckily, they got a kidney transplant, which took well, and as soon as they recovered from the surgery, they felt much, much better and continued to remain feeling well. For kidney transplants, Social Security automatically approves 12 months of disability, and after that, you have to be reviewed. Now, my friend had continued to work throughout his disability, but if he'd claimed Social Security benefits at the end of 12 months, he would have been found to be able, and his benefits would have been terminated. And if you find these videos helpful, you might want to subscribe. I make a lot of videos about Social Security disability. Other events that can trigger a review are if the person returns to work full-time, if the person informs Social Security that their condition is approved, and you are required by law to notify Social Security if you get better. If there is medical evidence that indicates that you've improved, if there are third-party reports that indicate you've improved, or if there is a new substantially beneficial treatment for your condition. And for example, I've seen the entire HIV/AIDS problem from the very beginning. And in the beginning, if once a person was diagnosed with AIDS, they had a life expectancy of about 6 months. Now there is very helpful antiretroviral treatment, and we really don't know how long people with HIV will live because so many of them are living a very long time. I've also seen a review triggered because the person moved from one Social Security region to another. Finally, if a person is incarcerated in jail or prison for more than 30 days, benefits are suspended, and the person does not get benefits while in prison. However, if you are incarcerated and your spouse or children are getting benefits based on your benefits, you can ask Social Security to continue the spousal or children's benefits. Once the person is released, they likely will get their benefits continued, but it's a bit complicated. Some institutions have a pre-authorization program for inmates to notify Social Security and get approved before they are released. Other institutions don't. If you are incarcerated and your benefits have been suspended and you have a release date, you should notify Social Security and your institution and find out how you go about getting your benefits reauthorized. I've seen quite a few people who've been released from prison where Social Security has required an examination before resuming the benefits. Now, Social Security doesn't spy on beneficiaries. They don't send out investigators to try and videotape the beneficiaries doing something that they say that they can't. However, they will terminate the benefits if they find out that there is fraud involved. And the people who are likely to report fraud are neighbors, people who post things on social media that don't fit with their disability. The classic example being someone who's disabled because of back pain who then posts videos of themselves water skiing on social media. And local Social Security representatives, if the disabled person comes in to see a representative and the Social Security representative sees clear signs that they don't have the condition for which they're disabled. You never want to be found guilty of Social Security fraud, so honesty is always the best policy. So if you are approved for Social Security disability, how can you best avoid having your benefits terminated? Well, the first thing is go to the doctor. Go to the doctor regularly so that there is a record ongoing of your medical condition. And when you go to the doctor, you want to mention your chronic medical problems so that that's included in the doctor's record. For example, if you've been found disabled because of arthritis of your back, hips, and knees, and you go to the doctor, you should say something like, I'm doing fairly well, but that problem I've got with my backs, hips, and knees is just the same. It still bothers me and it hasn't changed at all. You don't want to say to the doctor that you're perfectly fine and don't have any problems, because if that gets in your medical record, that will raise some eyes at Social Security. The next thing you want to do is take your prescribed medication. Social Security expects you to take medication that's been prescribed for your condition, and if you don't, they may question whether you're really disabled. If you have a problem with the medication, such as having bad side effects, for example, grogginess from pain medication, be sure to notify your doctor of that so it gets in the record, and there will be a reason why you stop the medication if you do stop it. Finally, if you go back to work, that can be a complex situation, and you may want to contact an attorney. Some employers believe in hiring the handicapped, and they may provide special considerations for a disabled person. For example, giving extra breaks if the person needs to rest, or giving an assistant so the person doesn't have to do a one-person job all by themselves. If you are getting special consideration, I strongly suggest you get a letter from your employer or supervisor saying that the reason you were hired was because they can provide special consideration for you because you're handicapped. And in normal circumstances, they would not hire a person with problems like yours. That can be essential for maintaining your benefits if you subsequently stop working. Now, the two cases that I saw a week ago, the first was a person who'd been receiving disability benefits and then found an employer who would give them special consideration, but did not get a letter or notification they could send to Social Security. They subsequently lost that job because the business's management changed, but they had no way to prove they were getting special consideration. The second person was a person who'd had very serious brain damage as a result of a terrible infection and was completely disabled. And they were receiving benefits for about 10 years. They'd tried all different medical treatments for their problem and none really helped. So they moved out of the country to a tropical location because they believed that living in nature would help their condition. However, they therefore weren't seeing a doctor and didn't have medical records for several years. When Social Security sees a disabled person hasn't seen a doctor in a long time, they tend to wonder, is this person really disabled? So this poor patient had to travel all the way back to the United States just to see me and for me to indicate in my report that yes, they had very serious problems and essentially they were completely disabled. Well, I hope this has been helpful, and as always, remember, if it happens, it's possible.
Hello.